Hi, everyone. We are so excited to introduce this first of 6 webinars that we are hosting. They are going to be, you can register for them via Zoom, but we're also going to be streaming them live on Facebook. So we are really excited about that. And these are just a quick overview. This definitely is not an in-depth look at the foster care licensing process. This definitely is, not a comprehensive look at everything you need to know. The best place to truly get started is with a licensing agency because they're going to be able to answer your specific questions on fostering in South Carolina. But we're going to go ahead and give you a quick overview, and we are just really, really excited about this. So we are going to wait for folks to join us, both via Zoom, because we have some registered attendees, and via Facebook as well. So as you have questions, we really hope that you will ask them. And we are going to do our best to answer some of the most common questions, but you can use our chat features to ask questions both via Zoom and Facebook. And we're going to either get to those questions live, or we'll follow up with you afterwards. Because fostering is not something that is familiar for a lot of us. If you didn't experience foster care as a child or know a family that was fostering, or maybe you're not connected to a foster family now, and that's okay. So it's okay to have a lot of questions. It's even okay to have doubts and concerns and not be sure that this is for you. So that's why we're doing this, just to kind of help you get a feel for considering foster care in South Carolina, what that might look like for you and your family at this particular time. So this is the first of 6 webinars, and we are really excited. We've invited some other foster parents to join us on some of our other webinars. So even if you watch today and you still have more questions, or maybe you just want to get more perspectives, please join us for another one of these sessions. And you can ask questions of those foster parents. But we'll go ahead and get started for today. So my name is Kaylee Lindquist, and I am the director of Care to Foster South Carolina. Care to Foster is an initiative of Fostering Great Ideas, which is a really innovative nonprofit kind of headquartered in Greenville, South Carolina, but with many, many programs throughout South Carolina, and actually in many different states and a couple different countries. So I'd really encourage you to check out Fostering Great Ideas. You can go to their website at fgi4kids.org and check out all of their programs, because there may be things that could benefit you there, as a current foster parent, as a prospective foster parent. And there's lots of resources that we're going to talk about, because maybe fostering isn't for you right now, and that's okay. So we're going to get you connected to the program that's going to help you get your foot in the door, or ease in a way that feels comfortable for you. But let me just introduce you to myself. I am the director of Care to Foster, but I also happen to be a foster parent myself. That does not make me an expert, for sure. I am not the perfect foster parent. I'm not the model of what it looks like to foster. In fact, there are so many diverse stories of what it means to be a foster parent. But just a little bit about my personal story is that I have been fostering for about 2.5 years, maybe a little bit over. And we came to fostering just by looking for ways to get connected in our community, ways to give back. We don't have any biological children, and so we had the time, the space, the resources, to give part of our life to children who need a home. And my husband always jokes that I don't do anything halfway. So we quickly, overnight, became foster parents to 3 siblings. And, it was a wild roller coaster going from 0 to 3 overnight. 3 under 3 years old, actually. But as we continue to foster and welcome children into our home, we now have had 19 kids come through in that time. We have anywhere from 2 kids to 4 kids at a time. Some of the things that we love most is offering respite for other foster parents, and that's a great way to get started. So, respite is really simply kind of filling in the gaps. So, short-term care, whether that's an emergency placement or just offering some support to another foster family as they take a little break or maybe have a family emergency that they have to take care of. But we're going to walk you through right now some of the things that we hear most often. So I'm really excited to share this time with you. All right. So make a difference in the life of a child. We are hoping that you consider becoming a foster parent in South Carolina. But with Care to Foster, our goal is no guilt, no pressure, ever. We are a safe and neutral place that you can ask questions, get information, and we want to connect you to other people and other resources that are going to help you along your journey. So we do not license foster parents. That's not what we do. But we are a good starting point for many families that just have questions. And so what can you expect from our time today? We are looking at the next 30 to 45 minutes of just talking about foster care, trying to answer some of your questions. So during this time today, we really are, like I said, we're going to try and answer those commonly asked questions, try and answer any of your specific questions that you have, help you to understand the licensing process a little bit. Again, this is just an overview. We're not going in depth. And there's been some changes in the licensing process in South Carolina recently that are really exciting in terms of serving children and families well. But it also might be a little confusing because it is new. And we know that, with any type of transition, there is learning that has to happen. And so we're all learning together. When you are considering foster care, you might really want to connect with other foster families to learn about the reality of the experience of fostering. So we're going to talk about some of those expectations today. But again, the best way to learn about fostering is from a fostering family. And we are hoping to connect you with resources to take the next steps that are right for you, whether that is fostering or the many, many other ways that you can advocate for children in care, or even supporting foster families that are local to you. So one of the biggest questions is, and I think we want to answer this, right? Am I needed? What can my role be? And we know in South Carolina on any given day, there are probably about 4,000 or more kids in the South Carolina foster care system. Of course, that number changes daily. The most recent quarterly data shows us that there are about 4,400 kids in the system at this time. And there are only 2,865 foster families. So obviously there's a gap. That means that we need 1,600, or really the number is closer to 1,615 families to step up and fill the gap, so that every child can have a home. Every child can live with a family in that gap, while they are waiting for reunification, while their family is working towards restoration. We know that a family for every child does not solve every single problem. Foster care, child welfare is a huge system, and there are many, many things that have to be in place for us to serve children well. But what a great place to start if there were enough foster families to meet the needs of every child in care. So what is foster care? Like I said, many of us don't really know what foster care really is, or who the kids are that might be in foster care. You might be here today just considering foster care because another foster family. Maybe that's your neighbor, your friend, your sister. And you're thinking, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. Maybe you've met some of these children and you've built relationships with them, and you see how sweet that can be. Likely, if you know a foster family or you know a child in care, you know that this is not easy either. So you're probably not coming into this with unrealistic expectations, but still asking questions and learning as much as you can is a great place to start. Maybe your church has a great foster or adoption ministry. Maybe there are lots of foster and adoptive families in your community that you're connected to, and you feel inspired by what they're doing. Maybe you experienced foster care yourself. At some point in your childhood, or know a family member who was in foster care or who was adopted, and that direct connection really puts that on your heart to give back. Maybe you were the child of a fostering family, and now you're wondering, can I do this as the parent? I did it as a sibling, or whatever it may be. Maybe I was, my grandparents fostered or our neighbors fostered. And now you're ready to kind of see if this is a good fit for you at this time in your life. Maybe you simply heard of the need, whether that was in a radio ad, because I know I hear those sometimes, especially the ads to adopt teenagers that will just make you cry right there in your car. Maybe you saw a billboard. Maybe you saw a heartfelt calling sign in someone's yard that says, foster or adopt a child. Maybe you are connected to foster care licensing agents. I mean, there's so many ways, there's so many reasons that you might be here today. Maybe you are hoping to grow your family through adoption, and somebody told you that foster care is a way to get started. Maybe you are a teacher or a nurse, or one of the many roles, a counselor who works with children that might be in foster care, a daycare provider, and you're saying, I'm seeing all of these kids with significant needs that need someone to stand in the gap for them. Maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm willing to raise my hand and get started. So there's lots of reasons you might be here. So let's start from the beginning. What is foster care? And who are the children in it? Children are placed into foster care through no fault of their own. This is not because a child has done something wrong. It's simply a family, for whatever reason, cannot currently care for them safely in their home. And that timeline, where families are working to make sure that they can offer a really safe home for their children, that might be, 2 days, that might be 2 weeks, that might be 2 years. The timeline can look really different. It is always in the best interest of the child to be with their biological family, whether that's the parents, grandparents, other family members or close friends, as long as it's safe. So non-relative foster families are the last resort. And foster parents simply provide temporary care for those children that are placed in their home. And again, that can be for any amount of time. But the goal of foster care is always reunification, that child returning to their biological family, or what we call kin. So that's family members, or fictive kin, which is close family friends that already have a relationship with the child. So as we think about foster care, and we talked about, growing your family through adoption, maybe being a reason that you're interested, you really need to be able to not only support reunification and family bonds, but be willing to champion those family bonds, right? Because a foster family is standing in the gap, and we're going to talk about, what that might look like and how that can be hard, or how that might be a perceived barrier for some families at first. So when we're looking at foster care and maybe the different ways to get connected, these are the things we hear really often. I want to foster. I want to foster to adopt, or I really want to grow my family through adoption. And these are all really, really valuable feelings for our family, right? These are really noble causes. So fostering is what we're really talking about today. Fostering is that family that stands in the gap for a child and their family while that family works a treatment plan. It is meant to be temporary. Foster to adopt, and this is in quotations because in South Carolina, this is not an actual program or pathway. Of course, families can sometimes adopt children that have been in their home. You will see that. You will see it championed and supported when it is no longer an option for that child to return home for whatever reason. But this is not an actual pathway in South Carolina. There is no program called Foster to Adopt. Now, adoption. You can certainly adopt from foster care in South Carolina. So your foster care and adoption pathways are separate. So you can become a licensed foster home, or you can be approved adoptive home. And we're not going to talk too much about adoption today, but there certainly are children who need forever families, permanent families through adoption. And you can find many of those on the SCDSS website, Adopt US Kids, the Heart Gallery. There are children waiting. These children are often older or in large sibling groups. So if that's something you can open your hearts to, that is definitely a pathway. Of course, there's also private adoption, either domestic or international. Those are all options, and there are children all over this world that need families. But today we're talking about foster care, those temporary families that are standing in the gap for children and their families. And we're going to address some of the most common barriers to fostering, because I know you might be thinking, hey, yes, this sounds great. I'm excited about this, but I'm also really scared. And I'm not sure this is for me. I'm not sure this is the time. There are so many questions that you might have. So the most common barriers, we see these barriers occur because of myths and misconceptions, maybe things that we've seen in media, TV, movies, maybe just outdated information, things that we learned growing up. Systems and processes change. So just because you saw something one way in your childhood does not necessarily mean that's the way that it still works. So we really need to address some of these barriers. And what I find is there's kind of three main types of barriers. So those myths, things that we believe to be true, but may not be completely true. Unanswered questions. So I just don't know. And if I don't know, I can't feel confident in taking a next step. And just uncertainty. I'm not sure how this is going to work, because we all crave control and clarity. And sometimes in foster care, that's just not possible. We won't have definitive answers to our questions. So the most common barriers to fostering, the three that we're going to talk about today. The first is, I want to foster, but my spouse isn't on board. Now, with most things, you want to be on the same page as your partner or as your family, because this fostering is not something you do in isolation. It takes the work of a team. And so for that reason, we definitely don't recommend fostering if your whole family isn't on board. Now, for those of you who are saying, this is me, I fall into this category, I'm really passionate about this, but my husband or my wife, my partner, my roommate, whatever it is, isn't on board. Well, start by getting information, learn as much as you can and share that information with them. Give it time. Maybe get involved in other ways. But make sure you're having hard conversations about this, because, welcoming children into your home is not going to make it easier. Likely it's going to add some additional stress. So you want to be on the same page. The second one is, how is this going to impact my kids? Maybe you have biological children in the home, or permanent children, adopted children, stepchildren, whatever it may be. How is this going to impact the kids already in my home? That's a great question. There are lots of great resources coming out now, books to introduce this concept to young children and middle readers that they can read on their own, or you can read together to just introduce it and start talking about foster care. But like most things, the best way is to talk to learn more about overcoming these barriers, to talk to other foster families. Now, is it always going to be easy? Of course not. But we hear above and beyond anything else that families that thrive in fostering, who do this for an extended amount of time, their children benefit. They benefit from having these other children in the home to learn from. It's a really amazing way to teach values, to teach your children the things that you want them to know about the world, helping others, selflessness. Of course, that selflessness, may not always be perfect, as they have to share maybe their toys, their bedroom, their parents, the television remote, the dinner table, whatever it is. It's not always going to be easy. But what we hear so often is that it's worth it. The final barrier, and what I hear most often, especially from families who are considering or really want to add a child permanently to their family, is what if I get too attached? Won't it be so hard to give these children back? Well, is saying goodbye hard? Yes. Have we said hard goodbyes before? Probably, yes. As an adult, we can or likely have developed skills of resiliency that that allow us to bounce back from hard things. The best interest of the child is going to be with their family, those strong family bonds that maybe we can't understand all the time, and we're not in control of the decision either. We're not in control of where the case goes. But will you get too attached? Well, you'll get attached, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to show love and care and unconditional support to a child, whether or not they're going to stay in your home forever. This is a much bigger conversation to have. And again, the best place to have it is by connecting with a foster family and asking them about it. I'll share just a brief bit about our story. Is our first goodbye was really hard. It came unexpectedly. We didn't know what it was going to be like. And it was very sad. Because we really loved those children and enjoyed the time that they were in our home, but we knew they were going to be in a really great place. Now, there have been other goodbyes that haven't been as hard. Maybe we didn't connect with the child as deeply because of the amount of time they were here, or maybe sometimes goodbye is not as hard when we built a relationship with that family. We knew where they were going. We felt like we could potentially stay in touch, or we just knew this was a really good move for them. So yes, goodbye can be hard, and we'll get other perspectives from other foster parents, but we would love to connect you to foster parents that can help you think through some of these barriers. So what are the most common questions about fostering? Well, there's a lot, and we're not going to be able to answer all of them today, and we're really going to give you really brief answers. Because every situation is different. Like I said, sometimes there's not a lot of certainty or clarity in foster care. Maybe your case is really, your home, your family is really unique. But let's try and answer some of those questions. Can I afford to foster? Well, the answer to that is likely yes. That's not going to be yes in every single case. There are, some policies in place just to make sure that you have enough money coming in every month to cover your bills, to make sure you're financially stable enough to add another child to the home. But in many cases, you are going to be able to afford to do this because there's financial support or financial assistance available that comes in a couple different forms. There is a board payment for the children that are in your home, and that is paid monthly per the number of days that that child is in your home. There is assistance with daycare and after school care if you are working and need to utilize a child care provider. They will not, the children are automatically assigned to Medicaid. They will not be added to your medical insurance. And there's lots of other financial assistance programs that are available. WIC is another one. There are clothing vouchers. There are foster care clothing closets. So there are a lot of supports available to you as a foster parent. Can I foster if I work full time? Or can I foster if my spouse and I both work full time? And the answer is yes. Will there be times that it is challenging? Of course, but you can make it work. And there are many, many dual career couples or single working parents that do this really well. And there are things to consider, thinking about your work schedule, the flexibility of your employer. But yes, you can work and foster. Can I foster if I'm single? Yes, single parents thrive in fostering for so many reasons. And we need diverse families, family types to be successful with the types of children that are in care, because just as we need diverse foster families, there are diverse children coming into care. Can I foster if I am a same-sex, if we are a same-sex couple? Yes, you can. In the state of South Carolina, you can apply to be a foster family if you are a same-sex couple. You'll just want to be you'll just want to be considerate of the agency that you choose and make sure that you meet all of their requirements. There are many, many amazing private foster care licensing agencies that are all inclusive. So can I foster if I don't own a home? Yes. There are foster families that live in all types of homes, whether that's an apartment, condo, townhouse, a house, that you own or that you rent. And again, there's going to be other things to consider based on the type of home that you have and the space that you have available. But if you have dedicated space for a child, they can have their own sleeping space. They have room to store their belongings. Likely that will not hold you back. So they do need to have a designated sleeping space, but we can answer those questions kind of more in depth later. Can I choose the age range that I foster, or I have a gender preference because of the children already in my home, or whatever it may be? The answer to that is yes. You can give preferences for the types of children or the ages of children, whatever it may be, that you feel comfortable welcoming into your home. And everybody has a different age range that will work for them. And possibly what you start with, you'll realize, you can either expand that or you need to narrow that down. Or maybe you just, what you start with isn't exactly what's going to work best for you. So yes, you can foster school-age children, teenage children, young children. The wider you can expand your age range, the more children you're able to serve. But yes, you are able to give an age range preference. Can I say no to a placement? Maybe it's just a bad time, or you don't feel like the description they give you of the child that needs placement or the sibling group that needs placement, you can't serve them well right now for whatever reason. You can always say no to a placement. And if you are uncomfortable, it's probably, for whatever reason, it's not a good time. You don't feel like it'll be a good fit. You don't have room in your car for that many siblings. You don't have room in your house, whatever it may be. You can say no, and you can always take a break from accepting placements. What if a placement isn't working out? This is a really tough question, and it's one that a lot of foster families wrestle with. A child is placed in your home, you've committed to caring for them well, and, it's just not working out. You have tried every resource, every therapy, you have changed schedules and whatever it may be, and it's just not working out for whatever reason. There are ways that you can work with your case manager and all the professionals in the child's life to make sure that that child is cared for well. And if that means that it's not going to be in your home, there can be arrangements made Obviously, that is last resort, worst case scenario, that a child would be disrupted from your home. But it does happen, and that's okay, because we want to make sure that the child and the family are being served as fully as possible. And sometimes you're just not the right family, you're not the right fit for that child, and that can be really hard to admit. But those are some of the most common questions. Certainly not all of the questions. All right. So you've got your questions answered. You've overcome some of those barriers. You're ready to get started. What is your first step? The foster care licensing process, and we're just doing a very basic overview, can feel a little bit overwhelming. Once you make the decision to get started, it might feel daunting, but I promise you, ask lots of questions, do your research, make connections, talk to other foster families. If you are not already, I would encourage you to join our Share Fostering group. You can search Share Fostering SC on Facebook and become a part of that community of over 1,000 current and prospective foster parents. The foster care licensing process, and you can learn more about this on our website, really starts with a couple very basic questions. Do I want to do regular or standard or therapeutic foster care? And regular foster care is where most families start. This means, your typical child that comes into care is going to start with regular foster care. Therapeutic foster care is for children that may have a higher level of need, whether that is medical, physical, social, behavioral. Therapeutic foster homes are trained to meet those needs. So you're going to decide, I want to start regular or I want to start therapeutic. There are two different processes. And from there, once you choose, let's say I'm going to start with standard foster care or regular foster care. Now it's about the best fit agency for me. You're going to choose an agency. Right now, South Carolina, the Department of Social Services has made a change in their licensing process. This simply means that they are no longer, or not currently, they are not currently licensing any non-relative foster families. This decision might feel overwhelming, especially if you were currently in process. But the reason is that we can really focus, the department can focus their capacity, their resources on licensing relatives and kin. This is in the best case, the best interest of the child, that we can expedite those family members that are willing to stand up and care for those children, right? Because a foster family, a non-relative home, someone the child doesn't always already know, is going to be the last resort. We want them to be with family. So in choosing an agency, your options right now in South Carolina are private agencies. The private agencies still have no cost associated with becoming a licensed foster home, and that's great news. So it's not about a best agency, it's about the agency that's the best fit for you. And my advice, my humble advice in choosing an agency is that you want to use your head and you want to use your heart. There are great options, but you want to make sure that your questions are all answered, that the process is clear, the training seems, appropriate for your family, the values and mission of that agency fit the values of your family and what you want to accomplish by becoming a foster family. But you also want to use your heart. Do you get that warm feeling? Do you get that feeling of connection and support? Do you buy into the culture or what they're doing at that agency? So again, there's no one best agency. There are many phenomenal options all across the state. So you've chosen an agency. They are going to walk you through the process of becoming licensed. They are going to help you each step of the way understand what's needed from you, what's expected from you, and what comes next. This might look like, well, first submitting an application. And then there's going to be a process of scheduling a few different appointments and trainings, completing paperwork, having a series of home visits, somebody in your home to check out your home, make sure it's safe, a health and safety inspection from the state fire marshal. It's going to look maybe a little bit different for each agency, but the basic process is going to include a lot of similar elements, regardless of what agency you choose. So you've gone through the process, or you've started the process. You're wondering what's going to come next. Who's going to come through my door? What is this experience going to be like for me? Well, as a new foster parent or a, in process foster parent, one of the things that we highly recommend is that you find support. You find local support through community, meeting other foster families. A great, incredible resource is going to be your local foster parent association. You can find those at the South Carolina Foster Parent Association website by just clicking your county and connecting with the president of your county. Likely there is a local support group for foster and adoptive families. The president of your local FPA can connect you with that. Again, Share Fostering is a great place to connect with foster parents all over the state and within your own county. Maybe that's joining a virtual support group. Care to Foster hosts one on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. But getting that support is crucial. Making those connections can be a game changer because nobody thrives in fostering in isolation. We are better together. The more support you can get, the more advice, maybe not advice, the more information you can get to be as informed as possible. Some of that support might come from your agency. My friend Lee, I love that she says her family support worker through her agency is her best friend. She loves her, and that worker loves their family. She is a great support to them. So finding those key support systems, talk to your agency, look local, look virtual, and there can be many, many great options for you. So maybe you've gotten to this point and you've said, okay, my questions are answered, but I still just, this isn't for me right now, or I'm just not sure. Not everyone can foster, but everyone can do something. So my goal isn't to pressure you into fostering, although we do need foster families, but there is a place at the table for everyone. Maybe that's not fostering right now. Maybe that's in the future for you. But you can always become a mentor to a child in care. Maybe that's offering tutoring services to a foster family that has a child in their home that may be struggling academically. Maybe that is becoming a guardian ad litem or CASA. Just as there is a desperate need for foster families, there's a desperate need for these guardians who act as the voice of the children in court. And you can find more information about your local CASA and guardian programs at their websites, and we'll give you that information as well. But a guardian or a CASA is simply someone who gets to know the child, gets to know the family, and helps bring light to the best interest of the child in court. So those are some really simple ways that you can take a role in advocating for children. But there also are some informal ways that you can offer support to foster families. The first thing you can do is find a foster family in your community. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't, and just say, I want to help. How can I do that? Can I take your biological children out for ice cream once a week so that I can build a relationship with them and you can spend some quality time with your new placement? Maybe that's saying, can I spend some time with your new, the child that's in your home through foster care, and just build a relationship with them? Can I bring you dinner when you get a new placement? Or can I bring you dinner every week on this day? Can I provide some babysitting services to you for free? Can I sit with you in doctor's appointments? Can I come sit with you in court to offer support? Can I text you and just check in and make sure you're okay? Maybe if you are a person of faith, or there's a foster family from your church, you can say, what are the ways I can specifically be praying for your foster family, for the children that are in your home? How can I offer you some spiritual encouragement? Foster care is hard, y'all. And the more we can wrap around these families, the more likely they are to continue to foster. A foster family is no good if they burn out. So the support you offer can mean the world. That could mean a temporary home for many, many more children to come. So definitely don't count yourself out if you cannot foster right now. Everyone can do something. And we have amazing blog posts on our website about some of the ways you can get involved and get connected. So thank you so much. If you have stuck with me this long, I am so grateful. And we look forward to talking with you and bringing in some other foster families through our next 5 webinars. And you can find more information about that at Care to Foster on Facebook. The event is called Make a Difference in the Life of a Child. It will have all of our dates, and it will show you the ways that you can register on Zoom to participate. And we will also stream each of those live to Facebook. So thank you so much. I am so grateful that you have spent this time with us. And, as you continue to have questions, I hope that you will reach out to us, whatever way that is. So have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining us.